welcome to my channel on the best of fantasy. This is the week that was, and I feel like having the week that was back on a Saturday is like a chance to get things where they should be. And hopefully, going forward, I will be able to find the time to film episodes of the week that was for every Saturday. We shall see. In the meantime, though, what did I do on the channel since the last episode of the week that was? Well, I have had quite a lovely time here on BookTube, including some chats about Vinland Saga books 1 through 4 with Murphy Napier. The first and the third chat appeared on Murphy's channel, her second channel, Murphy Napier Vlogs. And the even chats 2 and 4 appeared on my channel. And we have actually recorded our chats for books 5 and 6 as well, and I'm very excited for those. The chat on book 5 will be out on Murphy's channel on the 1st of November, I believe. And in that chat, I begin it with a recitation of Old Norse poetry, a passage from the Havamal, from the Poetic Edda to be precise. So yes, if you're curious to hear me read some Old Norse poetry, go and check out that video. I had a really wonderful time talking with Murphy about books 5 and 6, and I'm excited for those videos to come out. And just as I had a great time with her talking about books 1 through 4, it has been really a wonderful journey reading my very first manga. And I'm very grateful to Murphy for the recommendation and for the companionship, the discussions. They've been really wonderful, and I've learned a lot from them, had a great time. And I'm excited to keep reading manga, to keep reading Vinland Saga, which has been a really perfect story for yours truly. And what else have I been doing? Well, I had a couple episodes of Dear Dr. Fantasy, of course. One was with Andy Smith. It was really wonderful to reconnect with Andy. He had been away from BookTube or not doing anything for his channel because he's been so busy running for office and running his bookstore and now bookstores and his movie theater and everything else. It was just so great to catch up with Andy, one of my first friends here on YouTube, and someone I have been in quite a number of chats with, not just Malazan, but also we were in a Live Ship Traders discussion and many others. And it's just, it's great to reconnect with really wonderful people. And I had a great time chatting with Andy and learning about what he's been up to. And it's also great to make new friends. And I had a wonderful time chatting with Varsha. And that was a really great episode of Dear Dr. Fantasy as well. Her channel is called Reading by the Rainy Mountain. And we had just a great time talking about all kinds of fantasy series, but also talking about consciousness, one of my favorite topics and probably a favorite topic of a lot of people here on this platform. But it was great to get her perspective because of her areas of expertise and just her knowledge and her intellectual curiosity. So I had a great time chatting with Varsha, who's also just a very nice person. So yeah, this is what Dear Dr. Fantasy is all about, meeting great people. And I also have been in some collaborative discussions, speaking of people, and speaking of really great people, I have been in some collaborative discussions with the Nemesis, with Professor Fireballs himself, about Rings of Power. Yes, AP and I have been trading episodes, hosting on our 2 channels, his being, of course, a Critical Dragon. And what a great time. I mean, since the last time I recorded an episode of the week that was, we have basically finished the series. Rings of Power is all over. And I had a great time, not just watching the show, but I think even more so talking about the show with AP. And I think we both, it's fair to say, enjoyed for the most part. We had our issues, we had our suggestions, that is to say. But for the most part, I think both of us really did appreciate and enjoy the series, season 1. I loved the last episode, and that was one of my favorite discussions, actually. And it was on AP's channel, A Critical Dragon, our discussion of episode 8. Episode 7 was on my channel, The Chat with Professor Fireball Rog, So that was a good time. And so I'm a little sad that we don't have this excuse to chat, but we'll come up with something else, I'm sure. And I also did a review of The Darkness That Comes Before by R. Scott Baker. It's the first book in the Prince of Nothing trilogy, also the first book in the second Apocalypse series. And it was really a long time coming, me reading The Darkness That Comes Before, and I'm glad I read it. And I was about, I'd say maybe a third of the way into it when I realized, yeah, I am definitely going to be reading the rest of this trilogy, at least, and I went and bought books 2 and 3 in the Prince of Nothing trilogy, so I have them, and I will be reading them for sure. And in fact, I will be doing a collaboration with some of my friends here on BookTube, Jimmy from the Fantasy Network, and Joanna, and Raph from Raph Blutaxt. So I am really looking forward to discussing that book with those three. Jimmy is a big fan of Baker's writing, understandably, and Joanna has just read it, and Raph is also just reading it. So by the time we have that chat, and I'll announce it ahead of time when we're doing it, but I'm really excited to be talking about that book. There is a lot to discuss there, for sure. And it's a book that I found very challenging and difficult, as well as just brilliantly written. And sometimes, this is my philosophy anyway, it is good to be challenged with our reading. And that is a book that really did make me think a lot. So I definitely am appreciative of that, for sure. But it wasn't the most lighthearted of reads, I'll put it that way. So, what's going on here elsewhere? What did I do? I was in a lot of different discussions as well the last couple weeks. One with J.R. Carroll on his channel for his chat series, A More Than Human Conversation. And I was very honored to kick off that discussion series on his channel with him. Had a great time answering questions. I usually am the asker for Dear Dr. Fantasy, so it was a lot of fun to be asked questions and just to chat with Joseph, who's a great fellow on our platform. And I was also in a conversation on Tall Guy Reads. This was a Malazan discussion. So there's a group of people who are getting together to do a Malazan read starting in January of 2023. And they include Alex from Tall Guy Reads, as well as Jordan and Josh and Ian. And I just had a great time talking with the four of them about Malazan. In fact, I probably had too much of a good time. I ended up doing, I think, the majority of the talking, but they had brought me in to ask questions about Malazan, and I got enthusiastic while answering. So you know how that goes. But it was a lot of fun, and I had a good time being part of that chat with really quite a fun thumbnail as well. Fun mail, yeah. Anyway, what else? I also was featured in a video by the fitness channel, or really it's not just fitness. They do a lot of wellness stuff on that channel. It's probably mainly fitness, but they do a lot of other videos on other topics like reading and stuff too. Really a couple very cool guys. The channel's name is Goal Guys, and they were doing a video on the Northman where one of them was reenacting by exercising a lot, doing the exercise program that Alexander Skarsgård did for the film The Northman, and they with the goal of reproducing some of the feats that the Skarsgård did in the course of making that film. So there was swimming and catching a spear and various things of that nature. And I was consulted to basically give my expertise, such as it is, on topics such as what kind of ship that the Skarsgård character Amleth was swimming toward, and what is this deal with catching the spear and various other things. So I really had a great time chatting with the Goal Guys, and the result of the video is really quite impressive. So I encourage you to check it out. And what is going on now? Well, I have a lot of things upcoming, lots of stuff to share with you guys, and that includes the rescheduled. Now, you may recall that a hurricane hit Florida, and did a whole lot of damage, hurt a lot of people. Some people even lost their lives. It was a very, very traumatic event down there, and one of the smaller effects was that we had to reschedule our discussion of the Wars of Light and Shadow. That has been done, and I have a date to share with you. We will be discussing the Wars of Light and Shadow on Sunday, the 30th of October at 11:30 a.m. Eastern Time. So yes, it'll be a live stream, and present will be AP from A Critical Dragon, Jimmy from the Fantasy Network, Joanna, myself, and the author herself, Janny Wirtz. And it is going to be, I am sure, having been in a discussion with Janny before, I am sure it is something not to miss. There will be no spoilers during this discussion. It is simply a setup. Here's what we're going to do for our read-along of the Wars of Light and Shadow. Of course, I have read the first book already, The Curse of the Mistwraith, and loved it. My review of that came out a few weeks ago. So I'm really excited to be in this group reading this series, and this will be our kickoff. This will be the time when we're going to tell everybody what we're up to, what the series is, essentially. What are the different arcs in the series? So it'll be an opportunity for people to ask questions of Janny about the series if they're curious, or if they love the series already and they want to gush with Janny and the rest of us. So you all are welcome. We will be spoiler-free for the entirety, and we will be simply letting everybody know. And there will be a giveaway. There will be a giveaway of Book 2 in the series, The Ships of Merior, actually the hardcover, so it's really 2 books in one, and I'm really excited to talk about that, and that is thanks to the generosity of a viewer, and I will be explaining that when we have that discussion. So if you're interested in getting Book 2 of the Wars of Light and Shadow, show up to that live stream. All right, and what else are we doing here? Lots of other more fun stuff. I already mentioned the Darkness That Comes Before collaboration, and hopefully that's a collaboration that will continue. I already mentioned the ongoing collaboration with Murphy Napier for Vinland Saga. And so those are going to be going on. Something really I'm very excited about that is happening today when this video comes out, on this very day at 2 o'clock Eastern Time. I will be sitting down with Joanna and AP for Joanna's series, Why Read? This will be the 3rd installment of her series, Why Read? It is kind of a discussion series, but it also is focused on this topic. Broad topic, of course, why read? I'm sure a lot of things will come up in the course of this discussion. There might even be a few fireballs cast during the course of this one, folks, so it should be a good one. So why read? 2 o'clock today on Joanna's channel. So, yes, that is going on, and I will be chatting with the author Von Roycroft, whose book, The Severing Sun, I recently reviewed and am very enthusiastic about. One of the best self-published books I have yet to read. I'm very excited for folks to read this book, and can't wait to start hearing some more chatter about it. I know Patrick Leo is going to be reading it and hopefully reviewing it as well, but I'm going to be chatting with Vaughn and just about his book and about writing and stuff in general. It's going to be great to sit down with him. And I will be chatting as well with my very own father about the Terry Pratchett book Equal Rights, the first of the witch books in the Discworld series. So I'm really, really excited to chat with my dad. He is a longtime fan of Discworld, and I'm just sort of starting to read more Discworld now. I've read 1, 2, 3 Discworld books, and I really need to expand on that. I'm sure any Discworld fan would agree. So I am doing that, and I'm starting with the witches. I would like to get to eventually all of the, at the very least, all the witch books, all the City Watch books. Alan would, my buddy Alan would be upset with me if I didn't read all the City Watch books. I gotta get to know that Vimes character better. I have read Guards, though, of course. Talked about it with Alan. And I also want to read the Death books, the Mort books, for sure. So those 3 series within Discworld are my priority series. I know there's a lot of great other stuff, but for now, those are my priorities. And I have lots of Dear Dr. Fantasy episodes scheduled. Quite a few for the next several weeks, even months actually. So I'm really, really excited to chat with every single one of those folks. And I'm going to get to, this is my goal, I'm going to get to everybody I'm subscribed to. So yeah, eventually. I have to stick around for that long. So yeah, well, that should be good, right? So what am I reading? Well, I am in the midst of Mark Lawrence's Grey Sister. This is book 2 in Book of the Ancestor. I loved Red Sister. I'm about halfway through Grey Sister, and surprise, surprise, I'm having a great time. Mark Lawrence never misses for me. I just love his writing. He seems to be right in that sweet spot for me where I am enjoying myself. It's entertaining, but he's also making me think, and this one is a lot of fun. I like to see what he's doing with Nona and her friend group, and there is a lot. One thing I've noticed with Lawrence is a theme that he does like to write about is friendship, and he handles it really, really well. And so I'm really enjoying what he's doing here in Grey Sister. And after that, I will be reading the next book in Vinland Saga. So I already mentioned that Murphy and I have already had our discussions on books 5 and 6. So next up is book 7. And I am excited because this is the conclusion to the second arc in Vinland Saga. So apparently the arcs are of varying lengths. The first arc was the first 4 books. The second arc is the next 3 books. Beyond that, I don't know, but I have quite a few more of these Vinland Saga books to read, and that makes me happy. So yeah, I'm really enjoying that a lot. Then, as I mentioned already, I'm going to be reading Equal Rights and having a chat about it with my father, and I am very excited for that. I really, so far, have enjoyed everything Terry Pratchett has written, especially Guards, actually, was for me. I liked the first 2 books I read, the Color of Magic and the Light Fantastic. But I really loved Guards. And from what I hear, I'm going to really enjoy the Witch books as well. And I also am going to be reading Sons of Darkness. This is a self-published book by Gaurav Mohanty. Very excited to read this, especially given that the author has talked about how the Mahabharata is a major influence here. Also a Malazan reader, a reader of The Song of Ice and Fire. So there are some interesting influences that I like a lot going into this book. So that makes me very intrigued. And I've heard great things about it from Patrick and from Joanna and others. And in fact, speaking of Joanna, I'm going to be in a chat with Joanna and some other great booktubers. And I think possibly the author himself. So I'm very excited for that. That is being organized, and I'm really looking forward to chatting about this book with those lovely people. And so yeah, that's what I'm reading. And I had to reschedule a couple things. I am still, of course, going to finish the Dark Tower series. I'm rescheduling stuff in order to basically be on time for all my collaborations. So the collaborations have a way of taking priority. But that doesn't mean I'm going to neglect my Dark Tower read. In fact, I do have a palaver to schedule once I finally do get to Book 7, The Dark Tower of the Dark Tower series. So I am very excited for that. I'm really big on this series, and I need to finish it. So that will happen relatively soon. Another book that I am shuffling just a bit, but we'll definitely get to, is Tiago Abdallah's A Touch of Light, another self-published book that I'm very excited to read. I was going to read it in, I think, September was supposed to read it, and it's been bumped. I initially had bumped it to October. Now it's probably going to be November because I am moving Sons of Darkness in order to be done with it on time for the collaboration. So there you go. But I will read A Touch of Light, and I'm very excited, based on what I've heard about that book as well, to give it a try. And what else is going on here? Not a whole lot else. That is basically what's going on here for the channel, where I'm going to be and what I'm going to do and what I'm going to read for the next little while anyway. If you're curious about my book news, my own trilogy, not much to report really. I'm still in a waiting game. My agent and I had a very good discussion. I'm going to wait until at the least the end of this year, because the fact of the matter is the publishing industry is very, very slow these days. And so we basically haven't heard back. We haven't heard back from all the places that my agent pitched the book to for the most part. So yeah, we are waiting to hear, and that's how it's going to be. We can send little reminders, that sort of thing, but the big publishers, the little publishers, the publishing industry in general, I think things have really slowed down. That is the consensus. And so the smart thing to do right now is just be patient. So I am doing my best to be patient. But I can promise you that one way or another, and even if a traditional publisher does not want to take up the book, if it turns out to be the case, then I will be self-publishing next year at the latest. That is it from me for now. Until next time.